when you're working within that marketing, market access and trade portfolio, there's a number of organisations involved and there are a lot of moving parts in the sheep meat export industry. So who's involved as well as Sheep Producers Australia?
Well, obviously the role of MLA is a very large one in this space because they use producer levy funds to promote sheep meat. So we have in sheep meat, we have the transaction levy, which is 2%, but it's capped at $1.50 for lamb and 20 cents for sheep when they're sold through either the sale yards or sold to a processor or even sold between properties. So that's the levy funds that they are utilising. MLA will use those funds in marketing with having people in country. They'll use it for campaigns, as I said before, with trade shows and the True Aussie brand, which is the brand we use. They may do this in conjunction with Austrade, especially if you're doing cross-sectoral promotions. Obviously, that could be at a food fair or any other cross-sectoral promotion, which is just promoting Australian food. Obviously, we would want red meat and in particular sheep meat included in that where possible. And along with the exporters themselves who have played a huge role in product promotion and opening trades, they would want assistance from the levy funds where it's appropriate, where we want to open up a market and they need assistance. Obviously, that's a benefit to sheep producers everywhere because it opens up new markets, more competition for our product and a better farm gate price. And it's also part of trade representations in general. It's always good to have the exporters there because they're the ones who are actually producing the product in a box or even the live export trade. So you want them to play a major role in those markets developed. Obviously, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade plays a major role in this space. They're the ones that negotiate our free trade agreements. So that's where the negotiators actually sit. The Department of Agriculture and Water and Environment, or DOR, depending on who you talk to and how you say that, they play a greater role in maintaining market access and ensuring producers and exporters comply with our trade requirements, and even in administering the quota where we have markets which have a defined quota. That quota has to be split amongst exporters, and that's not a simple process, or at least not as simple as many people may think, and that all has to be recorded and allocated accordingly for the following year, and that's quite a process. So that's where the Department of Agriculture gets into that role. The exporters also have their own compliance work, which they have to do. They have quality assurance staff in addition to all the export documentation and shipping sections, all the stuff they have to comply with in that. To gain a health certificate is a big deal. That's pretty much your right to sell that product overseas, and that's what forms the major document of the agreement between different countries, is that we have to be able to produce that health certificate and everything that represents, which is pretty much, the clean green product and all the quality assurance systems that sit behind that. They all lead up to gaining that health certificate and the other documentation that sits around it. And we also have to ensure that the importing countries' requirements are met. And those importing requirements can be very different from country to country. Some of them place a much greater emphasis on the expiry dates. Others have very strict requirements on particular residue limitations, and they require different types of testing for the product to go there. And it could literally be anything. And it's all part of that negotiating those trade agreements as to how we can arrive at something that we can actually physically deal with. Many organisations also deal with a whole chain of trade. So we have to deal with transport, both domestic and international, along with the customs officials in both Australia and also in the importing country. And the list of what trade involves all the way from producers to the financial institutions that facilitate those transactions, that's actually quite a long chain of events. If you're selling into some markets where oftentimes a letter of credit may be used, you've got to have a banking system which pretty much you lodge your export documentation with a bank. You don't even give it to the person that you're selling the product to. The bank then pays you the money, and then it's a bank-to-bank transfer at the other end. So trade's not a simple proposition all the time. There's a lot of different stages of development in different markets, and you've really got to work out which area you want to trade into and what your capabilities are and where you want to trade. And it's the role of our organisation and government to try and make that as simple as possible.